Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for August 1st, 2024. Well, the beginning of a new month and lots of volatility in the market to deal with as we continue to run through earnings and lots of economic data. We have more today for the market to digest. So how about we jump right in and let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, we had Asian markets last night that ended up finishing mixed and mostly lower. The Australian index hit a new record high, while the Nikkei fell pretty sharply, dropping 2.49%. We also had Hong Kong lower and Shanghai lower in the overnight session. If we take a look at European markets are mostly lower. They're waiting for a Bank of England a rate decision here this morning, where the market is really hoping for a rate cut, but there are concerns over there. If you saw that they actually just had their inflation tick 1/10 higher. So a big wait and see on that, but they are mostly lower in Europe. If we take a look at U.S. futures, as always, we're pumping to the pre-market, trying to anticipate a big day of earnings reports, and we'll see if they can continue to fuel us higher. They certainly are fueling lots of price volatility. If we take a look at oil prices this morning, oil continues to move up. We have that expanding concern in the Middle East between Israel, Hamas, Iran, Lebanon, all of those folks really getting involved in the conflict there. And that expanding concern is raising those oil prices. Yesterday we had a good strong move to the upside. This morning a bit more modest. You can see here on the energy producers, we gapped up, ended up pulling back, but when it came to oil, it stayed in there really strong. This morning at 59 cents a barrel at 78.50 a barrel, and Brent is back above $80 a barrel, up 60 cents at 80.83 a barrel. So yeah, we'll want to keep a pretty close eye on that today. Natural gas continues to be very weak, but trying to get just a little bit of bump higher here this morning. When we take a look at those precious metals this morning, gold had an amazing day yesterday, surging huge, up more than $50 an ounce in the futures. Right now, pricing in there at $2,479 an ounce. If we look at those futures this morning, they are currently up $6.10 an ounce at the moment, and trying to push on higher. If we take a look at silver also had a very big day yesterday, breaking through resistance in the chart, and this morning trying to catch maybe just a little tiny pullback in here. We'll want to keep an eye on that today. Copper, platinum, and palladium, however, are lower this morning. Taking a look at those cryptos this morning, well, they're having a rough day as well. Bitcoin at this moment down $1,038 a coin, and we're red across the board in those cryptos this morning as we continue to see the US dollar show lots and lots of weakness. Bonds continue to bond yields continue to move back. The 2-year bond at 4.27%, the 10-year bond at 4.04%, and the 30-year bond at 4.32%, with lots of hope, I would say, from Jerome Powell's comments. As a matter of fact, I wrote in the blog the day that despite that Jerome Powell really tried to tell people that it was going to be data dependent and keep the Fed's options open for holding rates. The market, all they wanted to hear was that possibility that, well, maybe if the data is good enough, we can cut in September. And that was enough for them. The maybe was good enough. They didn't want to hear the rest of it. And right now, the high anticipation is for a rate cut in September by the market, even though the Fed says, well, we'll see. So what does all that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today, try to shake off that bias. Let's look at the charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. Well, first off, as Jerome Powell talked, we surged here in the diamonds, really stretched up here. We came right up here and we tested this last high in the chart. And as soon as Jerome stopped speaking, well, we pulled it back dramatically in just a short period of time. But looking at this chart, it's still a very bullish chart. We're still holding above this support level. We're still holding this upside trend. So we've got lots of reason to maybe see some bullishness. We also have the potential that we could be seeing a possible double top high forming in the diamonds. But let's take a look at this. If the bulls continue to find inspiration today, well, first thing we need to do is we need to push right on out through some of this resistance here in the chart and push on up. And there certainly is enough data today, particularly after the bell. We've got some big name reports with, we've got Apple, Amazon, Intel reporting with a whole slew of others. So we've got some of those big tech names that can certainly make a big difference here in the market. If we take a look, if we push on through this area, well, I would look for a little resistance right there, and then of course right up here, and we'd be talking about closing above there, all-time highs in the diamonds. Any push any further than that, well, all-time high prints and blue skies above could be in that diamonds future. If those bears were to find inspiration here today, well, once again, we're going to focus in on this upside trend. We're going to focus in on this area of support. If those bears were to find inspiration and push down into here, I'd look for some support there. If they push down through that area, I'd look for some support there. And the next level down would probably be this trend, and of course this price support that we tested last week in here, pulled back into here, and these levels in there. Let's take a look at our SPY now. SPY had a pretty good day yesterday, holding up really strongly despite the fact of the pullback in the afternoon. So big change here. We actually pushed through. We talked about this yesterday, breaking through. Oh, this darn thing. Give me just a second. It changed the tools on me, and I will get that fixed here quick. So we broke through this downtrend, and I suggested if we break through here, then we need to look for that chance that we could fill this gap. Well, we did that in one fell swoop yesterday on that overnight reversal, gapping us up in the morning, probably trapping a lot of folks short in the market, and there was a big short squeeze that went on here, particularly in the tech sector. And everyone being forced to buy to cover to unwind those positions. So if the bulls can continue to find inspiration here today, then that next level up, we need to be checking to see if we can push on through that area of the chart. Pushing through there, I'm going to suggest right up into here, see if we can attack that area up there, and then I would be looking for that possibility of a gap fill up here, And then, of course, beyond that, we've got an attack of all-time highs in the SPY. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration in the market, then we can see that pretty clearly. That pullback into here would be the likely scenario if those bears were to push. And if they do fail this level in here, I would suggest coming on down into this area, maybe testing that trend here as some support. And beyond that, we're probably pushing down into here, and then we start really raising some worry in the market because we've created a lower high and a potential downtrend. Keeping in mind that we held on to that 50-day moving average in here, so we still can use this area as a pretty solid level of price support. If we take a look at our QQQ, big reversal overnight, gap up. If you think about it, a lot of folks were probably in this short trade to the downside, and then the next morning we go from here to here in just an overnight gap. If you take a look, we pushed right up into this next level of price resistance in the chart. So breaking that downtrend in here is a big deal, and pushing into that resistance area. Our next space up is to maybe fill that gap up into here to see if we can push up into that area. Beyond that point, and remember this gap, we've got a lot of resistance, price resistance in here as well. If we can fill that gap, then the next level up would be up here, and breaking above that level, we have another gap that we could potentially fill. That would be a huge move on the day, but keep a close eye on that possibility. Remember that we still are challenged by our 50-day moving average, and we've got these overhead resistance moving averages as well coming down. So we've got to have something pretty substantial to move us through there. And of course, with Apple, Amazon reports this afternoon, we certainly have the potential that we could find that bullishness to push us on up. Now, if those bears were to find inspiration here today, I would say a pullback into here to test that support, and of course this trend break to see if it can hold as support. If that were to fail on through there, well, you can see there might be a little bit of a level right in the middle of that that congestion area right there, and then we would probably push right on lower here to retest some support levels here on the chart if those bears were to really get going. And remember, this is that possibility. This is a very classic short pattern. In fact, one of my favorite short patterns is we fail the 50, we rally back, and if we catch a failure here, that's one of my favorite shorting patterns in the market, and we still have that potential here in the QQQ if we're honest with ourselves. If we take a look at our IWM hanging in there and did pretty well yesterday. We shot up strongly, but boy, they gave back most of that move yesterday. So I'm still going to say if those bulls find inspiration, we're going to really need to break through that resistance up here and see if we can hold it as support. We've been struggling in this area, but we still have that upside trend. So again, that would be the first attack here in a bullish move to the upside. And if we can break through that, then we've got to stretch up here, and we got to see if we can break this multi-high resistance area from 2021, 2022 area of the market. So breaking through there, then we have a chance. If we can hold up there, then we start looking for that opportunity that we could seek out all-time highs here in the IWM. IWM does struggle with this problem, though. If we continue to get big tech earnings reports showing strength with these companies this afternoon, it can literally suck funds right out of this index, pushing them back over into that very tech-centric market that we've seen recently. So watch that carefully. If the bears were to find inspiration here today, well, you can see we've got a little bit of price support that's been building right there. A drop would come maybe down into this area of the chart, so watch that area, and then below that we would start to worry here just a little bit of a slip overall in those markets. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now our VIX bounced around here quite a bit yesterday. We were starting to look like we were going to break down below this support level while Jerome was talking, but then that sell-off in the afternoon brought this right back up to hold on to that price support. Now you can see we've slipped beyond this upside trend. So if you're a bull, you want to continue to see that situation occurring. We don't want to see that fear bouncing back up, because remember, it's those higher lows that create problems here for us in the market. The bullishness that we're seeing this morning would probably suggest a good solid test of this lower area is likely this morning, and that possibility that we could slip on through there if those bulls really get going and here in the market. So watch that closely. If the bears find any reason for inspiration, we're going to look at re-attacking some of these upper areas. And remember, we're still kind of hanging in that zone of that big downtrend breakout here in the VIX. Let's take a look at our T2122. Our T2122 indicator, well, one point in time yesterday, well, particularly when Jerome Powell was speaking, we were pushed up here in the bearish reversal zone. That big sell-off in the afternoon brought us back down into our price zone here, where we still have that upside potential. With futures up this morning, we do run that possibility, and with NASDAQ futures up strongly, we run that possibility that we could end up popping right back up here and being back in that bearish reversal zone pretty quickly here this morning. If those bears, however, were to find inspiration, we want to keep in mind that we've got a big downside opportunity if we find some reason for those bears to re-engage. If we take a look at our T2108, or T2108 rallied yesterday but flattened out at the end of the day. But there's nothing about that chart right there that says bearishness. Remember, percentage above the 40-day moving average here. And so a lot of stocks are sticking up here strong. And we still have some upside potential. Notice we got these peaks up here that we can seek out where we really become very overbought in the market. So we've got upside moves in here possible. We've got support in here if the bears do engage. So I'm going to still say this is a very, very bullish market. The bulls are definitely in control. They're really hyped up on earnings hype. And it makes me wonder what happens if that earnings hype starts to slip. But we have lots and lots of bullishness. Now, if we take a look at our T2107, T2107 also very bullish, but we are kind of tucked up here against some pretty substantial resistance in the chart, maybe a little bit on that frothy side here. Watch carefully. If those bulls really engage and push, we could stretch on up. But then we really have to start watching for that possibility of a resting pullback in the market. Doesn't mean a collapse or correction, but a resting pullback in the market. Bulls very much in control here. And then if we look at our T2101, the good news for the bulls yesterday is we saw that push to the upside was accompanied by a little bit of breadth increase. So that's what we needed to see that momentum, that hold here. Now, what's going to be interesting today is to see if we can continue to see that follow through to the upside, or if we end up turning back lower and lose that breadth in the market. Now, remember, as we process through these earnings, we get past these earnings reports, and then more and more of those companies will be free to do their corporate buyback activities and bring that up, and that usually helps out breadth quite a bit, because so much of the volume of the market anymore is corporate buybacks. So watch carefully for that. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got a busy morning here. We've got the Challenger job cut report this morning that we'll be dealing with. And then, of course, the job openings report, or excuse me, jobless claims report coming in. They're looking for that to come in at 236,000, just a slight increase. But as we continue to see the consumers weaken, we might want to be watching this carefully for the possibility that we could suddenly start jumping on this number. So watch that carefully. A number that comes in lower than expected might be disappointing to the market if it comes in hot, just because of that hopefulness that the Fed will be able to find enough data to cut rates. We've got productivity and costs coming in. We're looking at our productivity coming up to 1.6 from a 0.2, and unit labor costs coming down to 1.9 from a 0.4. We're looking for a PMI manufacturing number, looking for that to come in at a 49.5. The prior was a 51.6. Watch that carefully because we had that flash number that dropped it back down. Remember, anything below 50 still says contraction in the manufacturing sector. If we take a look at our ISM number, our ISM is looking at coming in at 48.8. That's an ever so slightly improvement over 48.5. Still showing that manufacturing in contraction. And then our construction spending number, they're expecting a 0.2 from a negative 0.1, so an improvement there as well. Natural gas report, then we're going to have some bond auctions here in the afternoon and a Fed balance sheet. Remember, we'll know more and get through all of this, and we're going to be thinking about this employment situation number on Friday morning, along with those factory orders and a Baker Hughes rig count. Let's take a look at our economic calendar, our earnings calendar here for today. And oh my goodness, it is a busy one. There's no way I can cover all of these reports this morning or this afternoon. It is a giant list. So if you want to catch that full list of notables, make sure you click that link below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog, and you can catch that full list of notables. It's a busy one. One that has been reported this morning already that I saw come through a flash news was Moderna being missing on their reports and kind of guiding lower. So Moderna is one moving to the downside so far this morning. But we're going to hear from ConocoPhillips here this morning. We've got ICE that will be reporting today. CWT is on that list. It's just a very big morning of reports. So be prepared for some price volatility as we push through all of these. And then, of course, this afternoon, we're going to be hearing from Apple, most notable, and Amazon. So be paying close attention to that. And remember, Apple and Amazon are now in all three of the major indexes: Diamond, SPY, QQQ. If there's ever a chance to really influence the market, it's going to be tonight after the bell, because those have that potential to move all three indexes up or lower. So watch carefully here on those earnings reports. With that, let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. And I do truly appreciate it. Every time I read them, I'm humbled by your kind words. So thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the channel. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very careful in this market, and realizing that there are a lot of companies that are reporting today, tomorrow, and of course next week. It's even a bigger number of companies report. So make sure you have your plans in place and carefully evaluate each trade without, try to avoid the knee-jerk reaction trading because I'm guessing there's a lot of pain that's been coming into the market here with these choppy conditions for traders. Let's take a look at some of these stocks now. First off, Qualcomm. Qualcomm reported after the bell yesterday, had a big pop up on that move, and then as the conference call went off, it ended up pulling back here substantially. But they did have a good report, so you might want to watch in here, see if this will hold this little bit of a support. There could be that opportunity. Qualcomm can turn around and go back to the upside. Kind of an interesting pullback in the day. Take a look at that IBM. IBM continues to set up in a really nice pattern here. I placed a price alert up here waiting to see if that's going to continue to push on up and maybe break into these high points, recent highs in IBM. And you can see if we pull this back, it's not all-time highs in IBM, but boy, we are pushing hard here to move back up in that chart. Take a look at AT&T. AT&T, really nice looking chart here. Had a good day yesterday, helped by T-Mobile earnings, pushed up nicely here. I ended up, now I have a bias on this, I ended up picking up a position in AT&T as a longer term position in here because when I look at this on a weekly chart, that is still a very, very bullish pattern, and it's a good strong dividend payer in here. So keep an eye on AT&T. I like the chances of that moving on higher. Take a look at XLP. When we take a look at those consumer staples, we pulled back yesterday, but we're still holding in a very, very bullish pattern, holding that upside trend. So start looking at some of those stocks in that consumer staple area. There are quite a few that look incredible. One of them, Colgate, has just been on an amazing bull run this year. But we've got stocks like Monster trying to come up out of a bottom. We've got Kroger, nice little bullish pattern setting up in here. Schmucker's doing the same thing, coming around. Tyson has been showing some really good bullishness here, trying to move through a major bottoming pattern here in the chart to start moving back to the upside. Even things like Clorox have tried to get a little bit going. We saw stocks like Mondelez, and these are a lot of the consumer defensive sector in here. Mondelez breaking through some resistance, pulling back yesterday, but if it holds up in here, could be interesting in the chart. Constellation Brands been struggling in here quite a bit, but still holding on to some support there. I really like the way Coke is looking, and I like the way PepsiCo is setting up here. So keep an eye. There's a lot in that sector that's looking good. You might also want to be taking a look at utilities. Utilities having a really good day yesterday, pushing through some resistance here in the chart, and we're up here testing some recent highs, not all-time highs, but some recent highs, showing some strength. Again, not something you would typically see running up strongly when the market is supposedly super bullish. And simply because these are more of that dividend paying group of stocks and more of a safety type play. So keep an eye on those. I saw Southern Company doing a really good job yesterday pushing up. So keep an eye on some of those utilities, energy stocks that are showing lots and lots of bullishness at the moment. Let's also take a look at a few stocks in the financial sector. XLF, we popped and dropped a little bit yesterday, but we did make some new highs in here. But there are stocks in here like JP Morgan, still looking pretty darn bullish, although we're resting up here just a little bit. Look for that next opportunity to the upside. And Goldman Sachs, probably the best of the breed right now, really pushing through to the upside. Very, very bullish upside patterns there in that. So there's quite a few stocks for you to look at. There are a lot more that are moving around here in the market. You're going to have to be on your toes. For example, another defensive sector, I still like the way this potentially setting up here on tap. Keep a close eye on that. And CRM, I think, is this nice little tight consolidation in here. I think has that potential with a little bullish push in the market. We could pop through that downtrend here and start moving this one back to the upside. So keep an eye on CRM. Got some potential coming. So with that, everyone, have an awesome Thursday. I want to wish you all of the best. And I'll see you right back here bright and early Friday morning. Have a great day, everyone.